Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Welcome to Ask Margaret from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood, answering your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. Today's question comes from our Facebook group. And before I start this question, I am going to give you a heads up that we're talking about secrets. We're going to be talking a little bit about behind the scenes on things like Santa, Tooth Fairy. So if you've got little kids around and you don't want to talk about that with them right now, this might be a good one to wear headphones for or listen to at a time when the kids are not around. The question is, how do you handle telling kids when to keep secrets? Like not telling others about Santa or how babies are made? Or how do you teach children when to not talk about something with others? Like, for example, puberty, private things that are going on with their bodies or in our houses. I like this question a lot. We did an episode in August 2019 called When Should Kids Tell? That Amy had a lot of great research in, and it was just a fascinating episode. So go back and listen to that one. Just Google What Fresh Hell podcast, When Should Kids Tell? And the episode should pop right up for you. And it's a little bit more in depth, but I'm going to give kind of the brief overview of this answer because I think there are some pretty good rules around this that we can use. First of all, I'm going to point to an article on fatherly.com called How and When to Teach Kids to Keep Secret. It's a great article and it addresses, I think, our biggest concern about secrets, which is that, and I'll quote the article here, a quote, bad, unquote, secret can sit heavily on a kid. If someone asks a child not to tell about something, it can begin a web of mistrust. The words "don't tell" often precede a request for betrayal, teaching duplicity, or more dangerously, silence. This article is basically emphasizing that parents should not tell their kids not to tell the other parent about something. And I think in general, this is a conversation that we need to be having with our other parent, with the other adults in our kids' lives. If we have a grandma who's saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you this ice cream, but don't tell your mom. It's a secret. She doesn't like you to have things." I think that we should state to the adults who interact with our children that, like, listen, we don't use the language of secrecy with these kids because we don't want our kids to have the burden of feeling like they have secrets from us. And we don't want our kids to think that keeping secrets that they wish they could tell us, but they don't feel comfortable telling us, we don't want them to feel that that's their reality ever. So that's part one. I think part two is to make it clear that secrets are a bad thing, and defining for your kid what a secret is very important, because a secret where someone tells you, "Don't tell this," something that you want to tell, but someone has told you not to tell, is never okay. And that's a conversation that we should be having with our kids really often, that secrets that they are keeping against their will are never okay, and that they will never be in trouble for telling us something that someone else has told them not to tell. And so, I've had this issue with my kids. Well, this person told me not to tell you, or I'm going to be dead if I show you this, but they sent me something on the phone and I don't think it's appropriate. And I will work with that with my kids to establish a sense of trust with them. It is fine for you. Now let's break down why this is inappropriate. And then if I think there's something going on that is actually dangerous with another kid, and then I might reach out to the parent and say, "Hey, don't say this came from my kid, but I want to make you aware that this is going on. Let's keep it in vague terms, because I want there to be a trust between myself and my kids of, you can bring me hard things, that there are no secrets between us where you feel like you're carrying something that you don't want to be carrying. Myself or your dad are always a safe place to put those things down. That doesn't mean my kid is never going to have secrets, but I try to contextualize these things as secrets. A secret where someone tells you not to tell, you want to tell, and you feel uncomfortable, that is something you should always share. Now, there's other kind of secrets. There are things like surprises where, oh, we've hidden the hammock in the garage. Don't tell dad about it until his birthday next week. That's a surprise. That's not a bad kind of a secret. A secret such as something that a young person believes in that maybe you don't believe in anymore, like Santa or the Tooth Fairy. That's something that's a young idea that we allow younger kids to believe things that we may not believe anymore because we see the joy and enjoyment that they get from that. That's not a bad kind of a secret. And then there's also things that are private. So things that are going on with your body that you might not talk about with other people because it's private. It's not because it's bad. It's because it's private. Possibly mom and dad having a fight in the house about something is not something that you talk about with people outside of the house. And these are dicey issues because mom and dad having constant fights where the child feels scared is maybe something they should be talking about with someone else. So this is not a one and done conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. It is the kind of thing that comes up at the dinner table and should be leaned into when you're watching a show. Wow, that seems like a big dilemma that she knows that her friend is not eating enough food. And she's worried about her friend, but is it her job to go and talk to her mom and be the teller of that secret? Is that her role? And so because these things are subtle, there's no way to give you, okay, here are the hard and fast rules about what secrets are okay and what secrets are bad and what is your role to tell and what is not your role to tell, because there's a spectrum and it's very easy to understand that, like, okay, we don't tell little kids about Santa, but there are things that are in the middle that are going to be a little harder to tell. At what point is something that's going on with my friends that I think might be harmful to them? Is it my job to go to the principal with or to an adult with? And so the success in this is going to be in trying to keep the lines of communication open, defining that spectrum for them, and helping them to understand that an adult who is doing something wrong and asking you to keep it a secret is always on the far end of the wrong spectrum. And then not telling people, not telling kids about the Tooth Fairy is on the very right end of the secret spectrum. And then helping them really understand where each dilemma falls along that place and being a safe space for your kids to share what's going on with them. Definitely check out our episode, When to Tell, because we go much more into detail on this. And I think it's kind of a fascinating and ongoing question. But I think the context of secrets versus things we don't tell young people versus surprises versus private things is where the heart of this work really lies. And I will link you to that fatherly.com article. I hope that helps. Thanks for listening, and send us your questions at questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com, and you might hear your question answered on an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.